Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Christmas Monday night live stream. I hope everybody is well. Hope you're all doing very well, and you've had a lovely weekend, and your Monday has been nice and relaxed. You're managing to put your feet up. You've maybe got a nice little drink in front of you, chilling away, ready for the week building up to Christmas. We've got plenty of folks in tonight. I've put a little bit of Christmas decoration around the screen there tonight. I've even got my Christmas jumper on as well here, my Avengers Captain America Christmas jumper on. I've gone for full Christmas mode. So yes, this is the last one before Christmas. Next one will be next Monday, which is Boxing Day, the 26th. So I thought we'd have a bit of Christmas spirit tonight. We'll look forward into 2023 and see what kind of things I'm looking forward to maybe digging into, what kind of things might be on the horizon for you guys, and just having a little look, really. So yes, let's have a look in the chat, see which folks we've got for the Christmas live stream tonight. Super Pumpkin Man was in nice and early. Good afternoon to you, sir. Type 40 Tortoise, hello buddy, said he's working on his Ice Maiden. I've just seen the picture in the Patreon chat, mate, in the Discord group. It's quite the beast, isn't it, that model? VJ, good morning, mate. How are you doing? I know you've just moved now as well, so yeah, you can start to kind of relax a little bit as well. Have you still got loads of work on as well, or are you over the hump of that now as well? Yeah, he says his 2023 prediction is that I'll get my new hobby room set up and then spend so much time working that I feel he use it in any significant way. It's generally what tends to happen, mate. We spend more time kind of tidying it up, getting it ready, and then next to no time actually getting to use it. Christian Reeves, hello, mate. How are you doing? Coffee and Pistachios is in. Says, evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. We've got Sarah Kiss. Good evening to you as well. Wayne Haywood, good evening as well. I'm just scrolling down here. There's a bit of chat backwards and forwards. Tasty Brain Drain, hello to you as well. Ryan Barry, happy Monday all, he says. Hello to you as well. RG, good evening as well. Yoakum says, hello everyone. He's looking forward to Free League's Kickstarter Zone Wars that should show up in November 2023. We'll warm up with the post-apocalyptic game and Fallout Wasteland Warfare till then. I've never actually played Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Everybody keeps telling me it's expensive, but other than that, I don't actually know much about the game. I know you can play it solo, but that's all I really know about it, if I'm honest. Major Tom, good evening to you, Ed. Hope you're doing well. Type 40 Tortoise is waiting for He-Man Clash of Eternia. Was Clash of Eternia, was that was the Simon version, wasn't it? I think, yeah. Blizzards, good evening to you as well, mate. He says, ho ho, all hoes. We've got Toro Slim as well. He's on a Christmas break. I'm finally free to make it to a live stream. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for coming to join us this evening. Yeah, it's kind of weird because my little boy is still at school this week, and he doesn't actually break up until Friday. And I think the schools around the northeast, and I'm assuming that they're like this kind of around the country and around abroad as well, seem to all be breaking up at different times. So some schools have already sort of finished for Christmas. But yeah, he's there all week this week until Friday. So then he has the week between Christmas and New Year, and then he has the week after New Year as well. So he's got 2 weeks off over Christmas. So yeah, at least it means that kind of he's at school while he's bouncing off the walls, excited for Santa coming. Let's have a little look. Luke Pryor, hello to you, mate. How are you doing? Skullduggery says, good afternoon, good evening to everyone as well. Hello to you. That's just jumping around there. Let me catch up. Colin Wakeland, good evening. Colin Mack, evening as well. It's nice to see you. Warren Jones, good evening as well. Nice to see you, mate. Peter Kuhlman, good evening. Sumberland says, I don't really have any plans for new games in 2023. I want to work on my minis, which are still sitting in the basement. Right now, I'm getting back into Battletech, which was my first war game. Yeah, I'm not necessarily kind of thinking of necessarily new stuff for next year. Maybe new to me, or maybe kind of sort of dropping away from some things and picking up some other new stuff. Maybe going back to stuff that I haven't played in a while. That's all I'm kind of really thinking. So I thought we'd kind of talk about, like, I can kind of tell you what I think, and then we'll also chat about what you think as well. Luke's in his mate that he plays Star Wars Legion with has said that in the new year we're going to set up a regular second or third week of the month that we can play Legion. Sometimes that's kind of like, excuse me, Just had a cup of coffee and it's kind of riffing on me now. Sometimes just like committing to actually playing the game is enough to kind of get the mojo going and getting into a bit of a groove as well, mate. We've got SCC Dear Matt. Hello, I've got no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, mate, but hello. He said hello from his lunch break. Good evening, good afternoon to you, I should say. Highland Pharaon, good evening to you as well. Alex said he's looking forward to getting a Moonstone. Oh, sorry, getting his Moonstone starter set built and painted in 2023. I just pulled mine out again the other day. The minis are all built and stuff like that. They're all kind of on bases and stuff, but I pulled it out just to have a look at the cards the other day because I was having to flick back through it. It's just, that's why it's on my table. That's just within a hand shot there. Robbie Lowry, hello as well, mate. He says he's happy to catch a live one. It's been a long time. Well, welcome back, mate. Zingbo, good evening to you. Mr. Boov Leiden's in as well. Hello, Tony. Alex is saying some dystopian wars if it gets a showing. Oh, Alex Berry, sorry, I should say. He says, and some dystopian wars if he gets a showing at the club. Yeah, I'd imagine at some point, mate, it'll rear its head. Vijay says, yeah, work's backed off a bit for now. Got one last Christmas party gig tomorrow, and then a club show on the 23rd and a Boxing Day gig before the hecticness of New Year. Yeah, I guess that's probably New Year's will be a lively time for you as well, mate. Do you do much between Christmas and New Year? It's always a bit of a weird time here in the UK. Like, the weather's not great, so it's not like people are really out and about. It used to be kind of people going to sale shopping, you know, like Boxing Day sales and that. But I think what happened was the whole Black Friday thing from the US came in, and obviously that happens in November now. And I think like the sales now are essentially a bit, people just shop online and stuff a lot more than they used to. So that kind of going shopping in the sales and things doesn't seem to happen quite so much more now. And it always feels a bit of a weird period. Everyone's just kind of hanging around waiting for New Year to come. Jez, good evening to you, mate. He says, and he's got his initial on his jumper shoulder. Which shoulder is it? Is it this one? There you go, mate. Yeah. My jumper. It's my Captain America jumper. I'll show you the full. It's my shield on the back as well. Got the full works, lad. It's all official stuff. This is the first time I've worn my Christmas jumper this year, actually. So yeah, I've not been anywhere to wear it. Where are we up to here? Type 40 Charters has seen he's looking forward to Trident Realms and Abyssal Dwarf fleets for Armada. Features number one gaming, not other hobby stuff. We'll be getting to play Marvel with these Marvel United minis. I look forward to seeing that when it happens, mate. Blitzball League getting sorted as well. Austin Thorlill, good evening to you, mate. We've got AMC, says good morrow, hoping to really get into Malifaux in the new year. We'll be chatting Malifaux later as well, mate, because I treated myself this week to some new books, of which this one, which is The Madness of Malifaux, the new expansion book, came this week as well. So yes, I'll be doing some digging in Malifaux next year as well. Matson, did the extending the Tamiya brush end up being useful for you? I haven't got to the bottom of the pot yet, mate, but I must admit it will come in handy, definitely. I've been building a load of Malifaux minis, and actually this Tamiya extra thin has been so nice to kind of like just to kind of put the minis together and then almost just like brush over in the joins as well and just really smooth them out. It's been fantastic. Smudge, good evening to you. Tony Howell, good evening to you as well, sir. Yeah, VJ saying between Christmas and New Year depends on where the weekend falls. And if it's Friday or Saturday between, normally end up working through. I don't think that seems to make much difference to us. I think like loads of people kind of seem to have holidays up over that period. So Coffee saying real tidy jump with that, thank you very much. Nice sweater. Where are we up to here? Night Haunter says solid jumper, nice to join the live chat, been a few weeks working on Marauders for Firefight tonight. Nice one, mate. Nice to see you in the chat as well. Colin said he's working on still working on Kings, played on Sunday. Ed played his first game at X-Wing in an age last night, got completely ruined. Definitely looking forward to playing more next year. Are you playing the second edition, mate, or are you kind of just... I know it's quite a chunk of people still kind of play first edition X-Wing. I'm assuming that if you're getting back into it, are you playing the more recent rules, if you like, the most up-to-date rules? Bobby Clark, good evening to you, mate. He's saying bit of Malifaux for him next year, perhaps some Kill Team too. I tell you what, mate, the stuff you've been painting for Malifaux has been absolutely out of this world. Like, it's really, like, the stuff I see you do for kind of like 40k and stuff is always like really, really impressive. But like that, it's just the Malifaux stuff is unbelievable, mate. Unfortunately, I think for you, it probably doesn't get so many likes, and they are called likes on Instagram. It doesn't get so many as your 40k stuff, but I tell you what, mate, unbelievable quality in painting, mate. I might have to have a chat with you about commissioning some, just so I've got some that look nice. AMC saying, whoops, that's just jumping around there. He was saying something. Oh, like, love to see what warbands you go for. And yes, plastic liquid brush is much easier, plus magnifier lens. The magnifier lens I will definitely need for painting, I think, just because my eyes are getting old. But I've quite enjoyed building them, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I'm not a big fan of building models in general, but I've enjoyed building these Malifaux ones. Yeah, VG is saying about when you refill extra thin bottle, you can refill it with airbrush cleaner. Yeah, somebody else told me that as well, and I didn't think that was it. I didn't realize that was a thing, to be fair. John S. still, good evening, mate. He says, interested to see what Mystic Markham predicts for the next year. Mystic Markham, I like that. Yeah, Edson, he's playing 2.5, converted to 2 and loved it, but my brain doesn't work out how they change swarms, so I have a lot to relearn. There's a few bits and pieces of games like that. Like, obviously, at the minute, Atomic Mass games have just kind of changed Marvel a little bit with the new with the new crisis cards and the new maps. So there's a bit of a refresh in that and a little bit to get your head around. They've tried to get rid of some of those missions where essentially you just go and grab something first turn and then hide in the corner, and there's only one kind of token to collect. They've got rid of some of those missions. And Legion, another game by Atomic Mass Games, they've had a bit of a rules update as well. So yeah, there's quite a bit going on over there. Where are we up to here? Tasty Brain Drinks, and he's looking forward to in 23. He's painting again. Yeah, get some painting in, mate. That's what you need. Holy Ghost Games, good evening to you. Thank you for joining the chat tonight. And Tasty Brain Drinks, and his mum fell and broke her knee in November. She's currently bedridden. I've been helping take care of her, which has meant no time to paint. I hope it's I hope it's something that's on the mend, mate, and I hope you both get a bit more time back for yourselves. Tony Howelson probably going to paint some Malifaux next year, along with some Necromunda, some Predator minis, a Sarah Connor mini, and who knows what else. Exactly, mate. Who knows what you'll be painting? Zingbo says, sadly, while his local scale model shop sells Tamiya extra thin, it doesn't seem to sell Tamiya airbrush cleaner. So I got mine was a pure fluke, really. So what happened was I'd run out. I always used the Revel contactor, the little blue bottles with the nozzle on. I've always used that like since I can remember buying plastic minis. And it was a Sunday. I'd run out. I was building minis. And in my local hobby shop, or the one I normally go to, doesn't open on a Sunday. So I thought, well, there's a Hobbycraft not too far away from me. I'll just go to Hobbycraft. I've bought like plastic glue from there before because they sell like Airfix kits and stuff like that. And also because it had been my birthday and I'm a member of like the Hobbycraft like email sort of something, they'd emailed me a £5 voucher. So I thought, oh well, I'll just go and spend the £5 voucher and go and get the glue from there. When I went, they didn't have any of the contactor in, but they did have the Tamiya extra thin, and people have always said to me like, oh, it's good, you should use that, you should get it. So it was £5. I had a £5 voucher, so I thought, well, even if it's a load of crap, basically, it hasn't cost me anything, and at least I'll get these models built today and I can go to the hobby shop tomorrow. When I tried it, it was fantastic. It was like, oh my god, I didn't realize this stuff was so good. Why have I been using that other stuff? And the contactor bottles with the nozzles, I'm for every time I come to use it, I have to get a lighter onto the nozzle and basically kind of like melt the glue that's hardened inside it, and it's a right pain in the backside. This has been a revelation, I would say. Somblin says, me and all of you, did you have any wargaming Christmas wishes? Hoping for a deep cut studio swamp mat with a new Dragonlance D&D adventure module. I tend not to get like miniature stuff for Christmas, and because generally I kind of like I buy bits and pieces through the year, and it's also like it's a little bit of a busman's holiday, a little bit like my hobby and my job's still the same thing. So if anybody buys me like model stuff, it's like, you know, it's like buy me work stuff kind of thing. So I think people tend to stay away from like hobby stuff when it comes to Christmas. I tend to get like clothes and like bottles of whiskey and that kind of stuff. So this year, no, I don't think I don't think I am actually. It's funny because I ordered these Malifaux books, and my wife had said, if you'd said you wanted them, like I would have got you them for your birthday, or I would have got them for Christmas. And it's like I didn't really think about it at the time. I just decided to kind of, when I was looking online, it was like, oh, I'll buy those. So yeah, so I tend not to get hobby stuff for Christmas generally. Board games and things we sometimes kind of like pick up bits and pieces. But yeah, we're in a fortunate position that basically we don't like. I don't really want for anything really. Like, and that, I don't mean that to sound kind of like flexing kind of thing, as the kids would say. I just don't kind of. I'm not that materialistic stuff really. I don't really want for much. So yeah, I'm quite fortunate really. So me and my wife are actually going to have a night away in a nice spa hotel. That's our present to each other. We're going to have a night away in a spa hotel and kind of go for like a nice meal and sort of a bottle of wine and kind of make a night away for it. So that's what we're kind of treating each other to for Christmas. Ed saying Kill Team got a rules update at the weekend too. It is the season, it seems. I didn't realise that, mate. I hadn't heard about Kill Team getting an update. RG saying the Tamiya airbrush thinner has the same ingredients in almost exactly the same proportions. Only trouble is it's nigh on impossible to get in the UK, and a bottle of extra thin lasts me 3 years. That is one thing I'd noticed, mate, is that the Tamiya extra thin bottle is massive compared to those little contactor bottles. So I can't imagine I'm going to be going through it that fast. So yeah, I don't mind just buying it for a £5, to be fair. Highland Faron says he's painting some Kill Team. Looking forward to trying it. Local club is going to run a league. Enjoy it, mate. I think from what I hear, it's a very, very good game. I did pick up is it Into the Dark or whatever it's called? I can't remember. I can actually see the box. Yeah, Into the Dark. It's over there behind my lights. I did pick up that a while ago, and I've been building the crew and the navy breaches from that, and I've built all of the terrain and stuff. And at some point, I'll get it all painted and maybe have a game of it as well. But yeah, I actually did pick that up a while back when I was feeling a little bit flat and there wasn't much interest in me. I thought, you know what it is, I just want to just do something where I know when I buy it, it's like it's going to fit together, it's going to be fine. I should look at a GW product really. I hadn't bought a GW product since Cursed City, so that was quite some time ago. So yeah, I treated myself a while ago to the Kill Team box. Tizzy Brain drinking and knees mending well. Good to hear, mate. Good to hear. Christian saying a BlackJack legacy is for life, not just for Christmas. I like that, mate. I need to get a t-shirt with that on. And support the Patreon from as little as $2 a month. The gift that keeps on giving. You are not wrong, mate. I would love to get some new Christmas Patreons. That would be lovely. Peltzler the Polychromatic says, I haven't looked back since I switched to Tamiya plastic cement. The brush applicator is just too convenient. It's perfect, mate. I mean, the needles, the little nozzles have always been fine, to be fair, but the brush, like, especially with the Malifaux stuff, which has got some quite small joints and stuff, it's gone on really, really well. Type 40 TARDIS has saying, fell in love with Tamiya when I started assembling Dystopian Wars minis. Without Tamiya, I wouldn't be able to assemble them. I've always just used the Revel contactor stuff, mate, for that. But I'll have to try that at some point. Matt saying, having a night away in a hotel with a bottle of wine. Are you getting us a new brother for Christmas? No, absolutely not. Somebody says, going to try some World War II for Operation Squad and some Napoleonic for Silver Bayonet in the new year. Nice one. And Ed saying, Critical Ops card pack that GW released on Saturday makes some major changes to the way you set up games and some general tweaks. I'll have to have a bit of a read about it, mate. I've not read about that at all. I've not even seen anything. I think normally, like, I don't kind of hunt out GW news as such, but I generally see like the Warhammer community posts and things. But I must have completely missed that one, mate. Andrew Fairbanks said he's just finished scraping all the mold lines of his Into the Dark set. 100% did not think you're the type to buy it based on your usual gaming opinions. I've just kind of thought it was something I would just give a try to, mate. I quite like the idea of that kind of enclosed sort of setup. And I think those boxes are good quality for what you get inside. And if I ever got to the point where it wasn't for me, I'd be able to shift it on and get most of that back. So no real kind of loss. Buy it online, 20% off, you know. John said he's enjoying painting a few Space Marines at the moment to combine two of Tony's pet hates. I love laying down the main colour with the airbrush. I must admit, I quite like painting Space Marines with an airbrush. and when you get your unit done, like that, they're pretty fast and they look great when they're all finished. The problem comes is when you're doing like 30 of them, 40 of them, 50 of them, it gets a bit monotonous and that kind of stuff. So I would love like a nice kind of, just to collect, like just to paint and have on display. I would love like a nice kind of Space Marine force. But yeah, the idea of painting them all doesn't fill me full of excitement, unfortunately. Kill team wise, like 10 models or something, I'm alright with that. Type 40 TARDIS is my other wish for 23 is a new edition and starter set for Conflict 47. You might get your wish, mate, on that one, I think. I mean, now that Warlord own Conflict 47, I think from what I understand, they're in the process of kind of updating it to Bolt Action 2nd edition rules. So it wouldn't surprise me when that comes out, it might get like a little starter set or something like that. At the end of the day, they sell the minis as well, so it would make sense to have maybe something like that. Explore Norfolk, hello, says he's still painting Pikemen, 100 more to do. Oh my god. Skullduggery says he's getting around to finishing the second Space Station Zero crew. Been having trouble with my creative vision for them, but no longer. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit hard to kind of make a decision, and if you're not really sure where to start with them, it really does slow you down, doesn't it? Ariel Sanchez, good evening to you. Gary Jensen, good evening, mate. Thank you for sending me your December painting submission today. Thank you very much. He says, I'm building some Necromunda brutes and having a listen. Funny thing is, I'm almost done painting Necromunda, and now I'm kind of excited about Malifaux, square one for Christmas. Nice one, mate. So we might as well kind of like have a bit chat about the stuff that I'm kind of looking forward to. So it's no surprise, it's no secret. I've never kind of hidden it away. Malifaux is a game that I absolutely love. It was the first game I ever really kind of played with any kind of seriousness. It was a game that I played like exclusively, probably for about the first 2 years of me being kind of into wargaming. I'd painted and collected kind of GW stuff like Space Marines and things, but all I did really was just paint. That was how I got into this hobby, just like as a painting hobby kind of thing. But when I actually started playing, I didn't like 40k at the time. It was a 5th edition. I had one demo game that didn't agree with me, and I found Malifaux. And I guess the rest is history from there. I played a lot of it in 1st edition, and I think I generally just kind of burned myself out on it. Like I say, it was the only game I played. I didn't play anything else. I didn't paint anything else. I didn't collect anything else. I only played and painted Malifaux stuff. I went to tournaments and events, and I think when 2nd edition started to come in, the transition to 2nd edition wasn't great. There was some changes that I didn't really like too much. And that was when I kind of discovered War Machine, and I decided to kind of start playing something else. And it was another game that was very much competitive sort of circuit. I went to a lot of events, went to a lot of tournaments and things like that. And that was a lot of like what my gaming was about back then. But Malifaux, from a rules perspective, from a model perspective, from an overall aesthetic, from the lore and the background, I absolutely adore it. And it's probably the one game that I always have like kept an eye on, have always looked at, have always picked up the odd mini here and there, have like listened to the podcasts and stuff. But I thought after thinking about last week about like what my games of the year had been and deciding what was going to hit my top 5 list, I kind of realised that I really want to play more Malifaux. I do enjoy the game. I don't play it nearly enough. I've got like plenty of minis that I'm kind of like needed building up and stuff as well, and need to get some paint on them. So that's what I've decided to do, really. And like I say, I absolutely love the background lore, so I kind of decided to pick up the expansion books. So we've got Malifaux Burns, and we've got The Madness of Malifaux. And essentially what these expansion books do is you can completely ignore them. You don't have to use them. You don't have to kind of like, if you're just wanting to play the basic core rules, you absolutely can do that. But what these books do is, these expansion books, is they further the story, and they bring in like, I wouldn't say like a new season of models, but that's kind of like what it is. So what happened in Malifaux Burns was the introduction of every master model got like an alternative title. So this means that when you come and bring, so the way when you play in your game, you tell your opponent which master you're taking, but you don't tell them which version you're taking, so that you can basically take one or two versions and they have slightly different stats and special rules and things. and Malifaux Burns introduced those alternative titles. And then the madness of Malifaux, again, it furthers on the story as well. There's a big chunk of narrative stuff in these books. It furthers on the story, and also brings in a host of new models as well, which just kind of expand out into the different factions. And like, just as a kind of a reference point, so if this book here, this Madness of Malifaux, has 132 pages. The first, let me have a look here. If I go back, the first 55 of them, so the bit that is, this is all narrative story, this is all background lore, and then the rest of the book is like, it's split up into, let me hold it where you can actually see it, like a stat card about the new model, and then background information about them. So the top bit here, as you can see, is all kind of like narrative information about them, and then you've got the stat cards front and back at the bottom. And then these are basically the models that we will start to see getting released over the next 6 months period of time, year, whatever that might be. So it gives you a bit of a heads up what's coming, introduces some new kind of keywords, and just kind of, like I say, just expands upon Malifaux. But they're not something that you feel like, if you're just kind of getting into the game, it's not like, oh, I've got to buy all these books kind of thing. If you're not really into the narrative aspect, all of that information will be available on the free app. You do not need to buy them. I love the background lore, I love the stories, I love the artwork. So I bought those books, kind of treated myself to have a little bit of time over Christmas to put my feet up, a cup of coffee, maybe a beer or a whiskey, and sit and read some of the narrative stuff. So yeah, so I've my faction of choice at the minute has been the Explorer Society. I've got a load of Explorer Society miniatures, so I've been building those up and kind of getting them ready. I contacted a local guy, Ben, who I knew was kind of looking for folks to play Malifaux against. Ben actually works for Steamforged Games, but he lives up here in the northeast, and yeah, and so we're looking to kind of bash our heads together and get some games of Malifaux early in the new year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'd like to kind of go to an event at some point, just to kind of get out there and meet some of the kind of the Malifaux crowd and stuff. But yeah, I can see me doing a bit more about that this year, or next year I should say, and definitely talking about that on the channel as well. Other stuff I'm kind of thinking about as well, or other stuff that I'm looking at. Let me just I've opened up some web pages here as well. Another thing is God Tier as well. God Tier is a game I absolutely love. It's massively underrepresented by Steamforged. You get a new champion, a new model comes out roughly every 3 or 4 months. But there's not a lot of fanfare about it. There's a really passionate community that plays it. There's a lot of online games that happen, but I'm not that bothered about playing online. I'd rather play face to face. And again, it's another one I think I'd like to go to maybe one event or a couple of events over the year and support that relatively small community playing a game that I actually really, really love. It's not a game that has a lot of background lore to it. In fact, there's pretty much none. So it's not like it's something that you really need to keep up on. Again, there's a like all of the information, all of the cards and stats and stuff are all free online. You can see those without feeling the need to buy stuff. There's no factions of such. You literally just kind of pitch things against each other. And so it's an easy game to get into. It's a relatively simple game to play, but there's loads of tactics and it's very, very deep, like in terms of kind of like the tactics against each other and the synergies with the different models. But it's a game that I don't feel like I have to kind of relearn. If I don't play it for 3 months, I could kind of pick it up very quickly again by coming back to it. So again, it's something that, will I be talking about it a lot on the channel? Probably not. It's like, it's not the kind of game. It's like, I was looking today on the Warhammer community site, and like Games Workshop released about 4 pieces of news today about different bits and pieces. I don't think Steamforged have released 4 bits of news for God Tier in the last year. So it's not something that's easy to make content about. It's not something like, there's not a massive tournament circuit to talk about competitive stuff. A lot of people play it, like I say, play it online on Tabletop Simulator and don't get the chance to play face to face. And so you actually don't really see a lot of hobby stuff either. You don't really see a lot of people like painting things and stuff. And it's unfortunate because it really is a good game. So yes, I'm going to continue to play it. Whether I talk about it as much, that's probably more due to kind of circumstances and things. So we'll see how that one goes. What else did I have open? Moonstone, something that we kind of been chatting about recently as well, because obviously we had an interview with Tom Greenway, who is the creator of Moonstone, owner of Goblin King Games, and Moonstone is a game that I've played like kind of on and off. It's not something I get a lot of games of. It's not. Again, it's a game that has like a very small but passionate community behind it, and it's really kind of it's a game that ticks a lot of boxes for me. I love the fact that there's no dice. I'm a big fan of cards from Malifaux again. I love the fact that the stat cards for all of the models, like you just have them in front of you. I love the fact that there's no list building in terms of there's no point cost for the models. You just say, I'm going to take 6 models, you take 6 models. That's how it balances itself out. There are tournaments for it, so there are events where people go and kind of play together. The models are very, very different to anything else from the aesthetic. They're very kind of quirky, almost labyrinth, sort of Jim Henson Labyrinth type feel about them. And I like the idea of just kind of painting them up, and I don't need to have lots of models for it. I like the idea of making some nice kind of boards, like nice, very fantasy-esque boards and stuff like that. And so I think that's a game I'd like to play more of as well in 2023. Again, if in terms of channel content and things like that, we'll have to kind of see what if there's news to talk about. I've always wanted to kind of do more gameplay videos, but in reality, I don't think I really enjoy making them, and I think that's why I tend not to do lots of them. Some channels, like the likes of Ash Barker, all he does really is gaming videos, and he must have editors or something, because he manages to plow through them. But I find that, from my own personal experience, the games that I then play are less fun, because I'm more worried about, am I recording this, am I getting the camera angles, are we making any mistakes, any of that kind of stuff. So it takes some fun out of the game for me, and then it takes a hell of a long time to edit them to a point where they look really nice, and I want my videos to look nice. And then the other side of it is, if it's not like a Games Workshop game, they get very few views in comparison to the amount of time and effort that it's taken to put in. So for me, I'd rather spend the time playing the game and having fun, and then making a video about something else. In the time it would have taken me to edit a gameplay video, I could record and edit something else instead. So that's the problem when it comes to kind of games like that. I want to talk about them. I want to kind of bring a wider audience to some of these games and help kind of get the name out there. But sometimes it's difficult to kind of bring that hook, really, to bring that twist to the information that makes it interesting to people. Because, like, there are people who love Moonstone in the same way there are people that love God Tier, but when you make a video about it, none of them watch it, or very few actually watch it, which means that like, those videos don't get any views, they get pushed to the bottom of the pile, and then you're working twice as hard with your next video to try and get the momentum back again. So it's a funny one, it's a balancing act. But yeah, those are a few of the games. The other one as well is very I talk about it a lot. It's a game I love as well, Kings of War by Mantic. Clash of Kings was announced this week. Let me just flick over to the laptop here. So Mantic have announced the Clash of Kings for 2023, which is their kind of like their championship, their UK championship game basically. And tickets have gone on sale for it. Now, it doesn't actually take place until the 9th and 10th of September. So it's like 9 months away. We've got plenty of time. We don't really have to worry about it too much. This time it's going to be in Nottingham. Last year and the year before, I believe, it was in London. And the year before that, it was in Cardiff. Cardiff is it's a right pain to get to from the northeast, like from transport links. It's a heck of a drive, like sort of distance wise, and the public transport in terms of trains and stuff, it's a really awkward place to kind of get to. So that's why I'd not kind of been to the last few years. But when I saw it was going to be in Nottingham, I thought actually I might set myself a little bit of a challenge and pick up a ticket for Clash of Kings. Get myself an army built and painted up in time, and play some games in the run up to it, and kind of like round it off with the Clash of Kings in Nottingham in September. So I had a chat with Steve Hildrew today actually, and we're going to do something in the new year together to kind of talk about Clash of Kings and getting started, and maybe kind of setting yourself up for that kind of the road to Clash kind of thing. And then also as well, kind of tying up with that, Mantic have announced these ambush starter sets. Now, I was looking over these today, and I've kind of got mixed feelings about them, if I'm perfectly honest. And I haven't really had enough time to really process what I think about them yet. So I'm not really kind of going to bash them or anything like that. But you can't fault the price of them. £35 for these box sets is an absolute steal. And I'm assuming if you buy them online with discount, that'll probably be like another £7 off them. Picking these up for like along that £28 for a starter like sort of box is absolutely fantastic value. The problem with them is they're not matched so in terms of points, and I understand why they're not. Mantic, like for example, 500 points of goblins is not the same as 500 points of ogres in terms of like sprues in a box type of thing, which makes the pricing model a little bit difficult. And some of the stuff, I think because there's not a lot in the box intentionally, because it's like a low starter, they're not that kind of exciting a little bit. So for example, here if we talk about the Ratkin one, like there's a couple of what are they? Are they regiments? Yeah, there's a warrior regiment, a spear warrior regiment, and a knight terror. Now bearing in mind, a regiment is £25 on its own, I believe. So you're talking £25, £25. The knight terrors are about £12.50, and the whole box is selling for £35. It's fantastic value for these ambush starter boxes, but they really are a start, like they're a dip your toe in as opposed to a kind of a starter army, I think, and that's where I'm still getting my head around about whether I think that these are sort of great, or are you better off, for example, if I open up a faction, so £35 for that. If I open up a faction, let's go to those rats, because that's what we were just looking at there. You can split a 2-player starter set for £85 with somebody, and you're not far off in terms of the like sort of price wise. And inside there's a lot more kind of, actually at least you're getting like kind of one of the beasts, and you're getting like a hero model kind of thing. So you're getting probably more like 500 points in that. If you've got these Ratkin armies, which are like the smallest army boxes, with a few more models in for £75. Again, if you're having the 20% discount, you're probably bringing that down to, what's that, another 750, 15 quid off it. You're bringing them down to 60. Like, I'm still kind of weighing up whether they're a good start, that they're great value, but are they a good start? That's what I'm still trying to kind of weigh up myself. However, I'm assuming that with these new, these are the first 6 that are going on sale. I'm assuming with these new ambush starters, it's the perfect price for people just wanting to dip their toe in, pick up some models and have a look at them. I think we'll start to see a few folks getting involved in Kings of War next year. And Clash of Kings is a great opportunity to kind of say, you know what, it's 9 months out. I'm going to kind of focus on that and get an army up and started. So yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking really for next year. Those are the first few things that kind of like crop up and think about that. Let's have a little look in the chat here and see what other folks are saying here as well. Lazy Mini Painting, hello mate, how are you doing? He's saying give that like button a slap. How's we doing on likes? We've got 90 people in and 44 likes. That can't be right. You've all put like half a like in. How do you put half a like in? Matt M says slapped, nice one. Michael Cowan, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you in as well. Ross Lavery says we definitely have to invest into Malifaux. Great style and like the card deck mechanic. It's one of those games that looks complicated at first glance, and if you start with one of the more tricksy factions, you can get a little bit lost very quickly and go, oh, what that, I don't really understand how this works, because the way the game works with keywords, like so your faction like is kind of based around a keyword. There might be some models that are not in that start box that really open up different opportunities and things, that core box. But there are other factions, like the Guild, for example. The Guild faction is very much a kind of a shooting faction. They're a bit more one-dimensional. And if you start with something like that, the games are much simpler, because then you're basically you're not necessarily having too many sort of fancy triggers and fancy interactions and things. So it looks complicated. Once you start playing it, it very, very quickly kind of becomes second nature. The card mechanic is really simple. It's the kind of thing, I think, a little bit like Infinity, where it works a lot better if you've got somebody to show you. And I guess I played it for so long back in the day that doesn't really put me off after having a bit of a break and kind of getting back into it in a more serious way. It doesn't really put me off so much. But I would definitely recommend, if you get the opportunity to have a demo of it from somebody who knows how to play it, like at a convention or something like that, absolutely try it, just because it's completely different to anything else with that card mechanic, and it's worth trying it just to try it. Even if you hate it, even if it's not for you, it's definitely worth trying it just to see something completely different. Gary Johnson says they had me at Gremlins riding pigs. Yeah, I do like the Gremlin faction, I must admit. Colin says he keeps thinking they're getting League of Infamy, but he's got Hero Quest to paint too. You've got your hands full, mate. Coffee and Pistachio says, anybody know how the idea for Malifaux was thought up? So, how Malifaux came about was, the guys that own Weird Games basically started a company called Weird Miniatures, and it was essentially just to make models for painters, basically just some strange, unusual types of minis that weren't for a game. They were just for people who were kind of competition painters, really, who wanted a different kind of a miniature, something a little bit unusual to paint for competition painting, really. And eventually it got to a point where they had a range of miniatures that were all very slightly kind of weird and different and unusual, and decided, what kind of a world can we create that will fit all of these different types of strange looking models into it, and hence the world of Malifaux was created, and that's where it come from. Drogwin says, any of you heard about From Freebooter's Fate? More popular in Germany, but a funny pirate fantasy game with lovely minis. I've heard of it, mate, but I don't know a lot about it, if I'm perfectly honest. Smudge says, I've had a Malifaux model started, so try to finish that and maybe get another one built and painted for a challenge. That'll be nice, mate. Luke Price says, I think with Malifaux and Moonstone you can make a lot of terrain that ticks boxes for both games. It's one of the things I was definitely thinking of, mate, because I started in fact, let me just show you what I've been printing this week. I don't think I have a photograph of it, and it's actually inside the house at the moment, so I can't even show you what I've been printing. But I've been this is the model I'll find it on my mini factory. This is the model I've been 3D printing over the last few days, and here we go. So this is, I backed this Kickstarter going back probably a couple of years ago, 18 months ago now, and it took a while for the guy to actually sort of fulfill the files. But this is the building that I've been printing, and let me get rid of that advert at the bottom there. Get rid of that there. There we go. So I've been printing this off, and it's quite the size. I mean, it's probably like, it's this tall kind of thing. What's that? It's like it's got to be about 8 inches tall from the bottom of the house to the top of the treetops. And it's printed off fantastic. But this City of Firwood range has lots. In fact, I wonder if I can. Let's go to STL Miniatures, which is the name of the company is STL Miniatures. And if we go to their store, this is not that kind of sponsored or anything like that. I actually, like I say, I backed the Kickstarter myself. Or it might have been under campaigns, was it? I backed the Kickstarter myself, so I've already bought all of these. In fact, if I go here to my library, might be quicker to go in that way. 3D printable files. I don't know if there's pictures of them. Typical. There's no pictures of them. I'll have to maybe just try searching them. But yeah, but these kind of buildings. In fact, I'll tell you what I've got. I printed off a while ago. Was this building? So this is from that range. This is 3D printed from that same range, and I printed this off and painted this one a while ago. So it gives you an idea of the size. In fact, let me just we'll go to this one so it takes all the stuff. It gives you an idea of the size of the actual files and stuff when they're all printed off. So yeah, it's a absolutely brilliant Kickstarter, and I just because that was, I think that was one of the first files that was fulfilled, and then it took a while to get some of the other ones off. But there's some. In fact, let me just while we're chatting, I'll go back here and find some of this, because there's a really cool like windmill and stuff like that, which was awesome as well. Let me bring up the images of it. This is on somebody's Etsy, but that's one of the windmills from the file as well, and it's it's really, really nice, and they've all got playable interiors and stuff on them as well. So they're quirky enough that they'll work for things like both Moonstone and for Malifaux as well, I think. So yeah, that's my plan basically, is to get some of that stuff printed out and just kind of work on them as well. Tony saying Dogwin, is that? Oh, I talking about something else. Smudge saying it could also be used for some medievalist terrain pieces. Yeah, quite possibly, mate. Jess is saying he was looking at the ambush boxes last night. Absolutely starting a Kings of War Goblins army next year. They're definitely a good starting point. I'm just not sure whether they're an ambush army. That's kind of like that's where I'm a bit torn with them. Would I have rather they'd been like £45 or something like that and have 500 points in, something along them lines? Colin Max is trying to get to Cardiff from the west of Scotland. Even Nottingham is hard to get to. Yeah, it's really kind of like, it's just like, Cardiff's a lovely place. I've been before. That's why I know it's an absolute pig to get to. It's just like the transport links. You have to change trains about 3 or 4 times to kind of get across there, and it takes like something in the region of about, I think the problem is it's no faster to take the train than it is to drive there. It's about 6 hours for me, I think. 6 or 7 hours to go from Newcastle to Cardiff because of all the changes. So if it takes you that long on the train and you have to keep getting off and changing, you might as well drive. And then the problem is, if you drive, like, it's a 6 or 7 hour drive. VJ, thank you very much for the donation, mate. What was that? Let me see what it says there. Merry Christmas, mate. He says, grab a bottle of vino for you and Lou to share on me. Thank you very much, mate. I definitely will do. We've actually got a babysitter on Friday night. So we're just going to like a local pub, and we're just going to have like a bar meal and a few drinks. Because there's a weird thing in the UK which is called Black Eye Friday, which is the Friday that's like the last Friday before Christmas, when everybody breaks up for work and goes out on the drink. And there's always a fight in the town centre and stuff like that. So it's kind of nicknamed Black Eye Friday. So we do have a babysitter. We're going to have a night out, but I don't really want to go like into the city centre and stuff like that. So we're just going to stay local and have a nice little kind of a bite to eat and a few drinks, and then just wander back around the corner at home. So yes, mate, I will use that to buy a bottle of wine when we're out, mate. Thank you very much. Waffles Enjoyer, hello, mate. He says, what's ambush? Ambush is basically the low points version of Kings of War. So because it's quite difficult to get into like a mass battle game and get started when you're talking about 2,000 or 2,500 points, Mantic recently rejigged the rules slightly for lower point games. So between maybe 500 and 1,000 points, you can play these ambush rules, which stop you taking really kind of powerful units at lower points levels. So like they're not overpowered in like a full scale game, but when you haven't got many models on the table, some models are a little bit more kind of sort of a bit more swingy, shall we say. So ambush is that low point level, and these ambush boxes are designed to get people into Kings of War at a low point level, get some models, get them on the table, play some games, rather than thinking, oh, I need to pay like £110 for a full army box, and I need to get them all built, and I need to get them all painted before I can even play and see if I like it. That's what these are aimed to do. Yeah, Jess is saying I found them for 27 at a few places. Yeah, exactly, mate. With that 20% off, they're a bargain. Let's have a little look here. Dev saying better off getting army boxes. I've been discussing this with my local group and some regional pathfinders. Yeah, that's kind of where that's where my brain's at, really, mate. It's like it feels like there's not enough in them to call them ambush armies. They're definitely kind of like taster boxes. I would agree with that. They're enough to dip your toe in and have your first few units and really like sort of put something together. I'm just not sure if there's enough in them to play, and that's the only thing I would question. But I don't know this for certain. I haven't worked out the points levels. Like I haven't kind of sort of played with that level of points or with that level of models or like number of models to know whether that's a good or a bad idea. It's just my initial kind of thought, really. Night Haunter says, Mantic already have army sets and mega army sets. This is going smaller to match the gaming aspect of Ambush. Yeah, I get that, mate. That's definitely where they're aimed at. I'm just wondering if it's too small, is maybe my question. Dev says they're great for dipping toes in and using preferred model count, but you can't really experience good Ambush games with that low model count. That's kind of what I was saying, mate. I'm not sure, but again, as I'm saying, it's early days. I haven't really done I haven't done the due diligence on it yet. Colin saying some are better deals. The goblins, ogres, and ratkin are all great. The worst is halflings. Yeah, I think the problem with the halflings one is the fact that those units, because of the way the halfling sprues are, like a unit already comes with 2 units, if you like. So yeah, that's the only thing. Just saying it's a great building. Yeah, it looks good, mate, doesn't it? Smudge says it looks fantastic building. Red Riding Hood's granny's house. I think it's actually called the Witch's Hunt, that one. So it's definitely kind of like sort of a bit quirky and stuff. Yeah. Type 40 Tower saying that's a building. Those will work with Moonstone. Yeah, definitely. And Cool Windmill. Yeah, it is a pretty sort of like cool one. They do a really, really cool Wizard's Tower. They do a really good like observatory type thing with a big kind of like telescope thing coming out. They do an absolutely amazing inn, which is just a huge model, and I want to print it off and paint it up, even just to like make a video out of it, because I think it's just such a fantastic piece. So I just don't know where I'd store it all. That's the thing. Paul saying, what's the December challenge? You can't see it in the pinned post on Facebook. I don't think I put it in the pinned post, mate, on Facebook. It was on the one of the live streams, and it's in the Patreon chat. It was it's the gift of Christmas, mate. So it's about no, it's not a gift. It's about Christmas wishes. About I wish like something I wish I'd painted last month, something I wish I'd painted earlier in the year, the model I wish I'd painted when I was younger. Just that kind of that model that you wish you'd done something with. And because it's December and it's Christmas, and I appreciate people are busy. If you don't want to do that theme, just like you can paint whatever you want this month. Basically, a bit of a low ball one this month. Smudge is saying it's got the Georgian exposed beam feel. Yeah, it's kind of like it definitely does have that feel to it, but with a very kind of quirky, fantastical feel to it. Just as saying, off with Lou, picking fights in pubs. Yeah, definitely, mate. And Dev saying Ambush is an amazing game, highly recommend it. Holy Ghost Games says too many cool games out there, but 23 for me is to keep playing the games I have and keep those campaigns alive and build terrain. There's one new game though I will get, and that's Project Mara. I've never heard of that one, mate. To be honest, mate, I'll continue to play Marvel Crisis Protocol as well. Big fan of that game. I don't know if I need to buy more stuff for it, but I do really like the game. I'll absolutely be getting taking a look at Shatterpoint as well, Star Wars Shatterpoint. That's going. I'm hoping to go to Adepticon in March. I booked my hotel the other day just to kind of reserve a room, and I'm just keeping an eye on flights prices at the minute. And what I'm trying to weigh up at the moment is how much it costs me to go to Birmingham in the summer for UK Games Expo. By the time I kind of factor in food and drink and stuff and hotel prices, which are pretty expensive around the NEC, it's not that much more expensive than it is to go to Chicago. So I'm kind of like I'm 90% that I'll be going to Adepticon in March. Like I say, I've booked my hotel. Flight prices are okay. I'm just keeping an eye on them at the minute. However, Adepticon is the first place you will get the chance to demo Shatterpoint, so I'm hoping to be able to sort something out. So if I do attend, I get the opportunity to be able to demo the game there as well. And it's something, because I love the Marvel stuff so much. I'm a fan of Star Wars, the world in general. Shatterpoint's something I think I'll definitely be picking up next year. John says, really enjoyed our 4-player mini ambush tournament. 3 games in a night, easily, great fun. Yeah, I quite like the idea of playing at smaller levels as well. It doesn't, that's the only thing I'm thinking about. Do I even buy a ticket for Clash of Kings? I might not even feel the need to kind of to up my points limit really if I'm enjoying just playing smaller point games. Just saying, to be honest, something I like about the ambush boxes is a good chunk to paint, but not overwhelming numbers of an army box. There is that, mate, as well, and I think that's something that is maybe lost on me a little bit as somebody that's kind of building and painting on a frequent basis, and I'm maybe overlooking that for newer players to mass battle games. Anna Robinson, good evening, Anna. How are you doing? Merry Christmas to you as well. Coffee saying, I'm off. Have a good holiday period, everyone. Take care. Thank you very much. Ed says, what impact do you think Return of Old World and potentially a new Lord of the Rings game will have on Kings of War? I think there'll be an element, mate, where there are some Old World players who came across the Kings of War and will potentially go, maybe at least kind of check it out and see what it's about. I think there'll be a period of time where there might not be a lot of kind of there has to be let's be honest, then whatever GW do, they're not going to be able to go from nothing available to here's 10 factions fully fleshed out. So it's going to take them a little while to kind of get up to a point where there's lots of stuff available. It depends on what their focus is on the game really, as to whether it ends up becoming a competitive thing, because I think a lot of players who used to play fantasy and now play Kings of War are quite serious kind of tournament competitive players, and I think it depends upon what happens with that kind of stuff. I think some people refuse to go back, they've burned their bridges with GW a little bit, or GW have burned their bridges with them and they've had enough and they're not interested in going back. I think there'll be some people that do. I think it really is just I don't think it's going to kill Kings of War or anything like that. There are other rank and flank games out there like Conquest, which I think are kind of gathering a little bit of momentum as well. I think it's just it'll be a kind of a suck it and see type thing. I think a lot of it will be about the quality of the models. What you might see is a lot of people buying GW models and playing Kings of War, because Kings of War is quite an established rule set now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, I think. Sorry, says the Boilerman's coming tomorrow, so I've got to tidy the house before the neighbours rip my head off for the noise. Take care. Jess is saying, have a good one, coffee. Sarah's saying, have a good Christmas, everyone. You too, Sarah. Thank you very much for coming in. Andrew's saying, Houston to Dallas, drive 4.5 to 6 hours, or spend half an hour driving to the airport, half an hour at the airport, an hour and a half flying, an hour to get things rented a car, 30 to 60 minutes driving. Yeah, the problem in the UK, mate, is our roads are pretty garbage, and so driving 6 hours isn't a comfortable drive. It's stop start, you're in traffic for most of the time when you're on motorways and stuff. The motorway services are not particularly nice. It's not a nice experience driving in the UK really, for long periods of time, and I know I did it for years basically as part of my job. It's not fun really. It's more relaxing to be sitting on a train or something like that, but the problem is when you're constantly getting off and changing, and you've obviously got bags for the weekend, and you've got a 2,500 point army that you're carrying about with you as well. It starts to become a bit of a pain. Flying's not really an option. You can't fly from Newcastle to Cardiff. You'd end up having to take it would be a 20-minute taxi ride to the airport for me. I'd probably have to fly to, God, would you fly to Manchester or somewhere like that? Because regional airports in the UK, because we're so small, you don't really fly between the different airports so much. So it's just not an easy journey. It's not a easy way to make it. Colin says, don't think I'll go back once burned by them. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people have that kind of same thought, mate. I think there are people that think it's not for them anymore. There are some people who absolutely love the old world and will be tempted back into it. Like I say, I think it depends. It depends if Like, one thing that made me curious really was when we started to see 30k Horus Heresy going more into plastic stuff this year. Was that a start in like freeing up resin production for old world stuff? Will we really see like full scale plastic releases? Because like I just said, it's going to be quite hard to get up to speed quickly. I think that's half the reason this thing's so far away. Like, think of the amount of work that it takes to get like, so even like 3 or 4 playable factions. Because what they won't want to do is release the rules and not have models available, because people will either go and just get their old stuff out of the loft kind of thing, or play with models that already exist elsewhere. They want people to buy models. That's where the money is. So it'll be interesting to see how they release it. Jez is saying there, easy jet to Bristol and train to Cardiff. Yes, you got to go all the way down to Bristol to come back up to Cardiff. It is a pain in the arse, mate. Ed saying most other rank and flank games are not I go, you go, while Kings of War is unashamedly a core hammer derivative. I think there's vulnerability there. I think the thing is, mate, it was growing before the old world died, because people were getting a bit bogged down in the old GW rules. I wouldn't say that necessarily GW are kind of renowned for their mass battle game rules. It really depends upon what they do with it. It really depends. Like the main audience for GW has always been hobbyists and not necessarily the player base. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. There'll be a price in there as well to see how they stack up against each other as well, I would imagine. Yeah, John's just saying, yeah, just Google the cheapest flights from Cardiff to Cardiff from Newcastle, change it Amsterdam. Yeah, that's it. I have to fly to Holland to fly to Cardiff. That just shows you how not easy it is to get around in the UK like that. Mordecai says the Kings of War starter boxes seem like a much better way to get into ambush than these dedicated ambush boxes. I think they are if you're prepared to spend a little bit more money and have more points. That's kind of like my worry is really is it's like it's that catch-22. They're absolutely perfect stepping in box sizes. Like they're like the problem I've got is if you just want to get something and try it out, they're absolutely perfect. But if you really want to play ambush, you're gonna have to buy that ambush box and then buy something else, by which point you've probably spent the same amount of money as buying the smaller army boxes. That's the only thing that I'm kind of like, I'm a bit, like what's the best way to go here kind of thing. Because I don't think there's enough in those ambush boxes to really play ambush, if that makes sense. Mark said, not that it matters, but Newcastle to Cardiff on the train is one stop in Bristol, but still 6 hours. I think it used to be a couple of changes, mate, a while ago. It must be a bit more direct now. Like I say, it's still 6 hours away though, and I think it's like 6 hours on the drive as well. So it's not a fun journey either way. And irrelevantly, it's not in Cardiff anymore. It's in Nottingham. So, and like Nottingham is really, it's not a bad drive at all from Newcastle, because it's pretty much one straight road all the way down, and the traffic's never too bad down that kind of east coast. So it's like 2.5 hour drive or something like that, 3 hours at max. So it's pretty good getting to Nottingham. And then obviously it's not London and paying London hotel prices either. Yeah, Mark saying it's also close to £200. Yeah, trains are also very expensive. Andrew saying, as someone who was brought into the hobby via Fantasy Battle, the game is dead on arrival for me if it's in resin. Yeah, and that, I mean, we don't know, mate. All I would say is GW have struggled for plastic production to like make enough models, if you like, to like support some of these other boxes that come out. It's the reason why those boxes are limited releases, because of the way their production facilities work. Like they make those 6 months down, like 6 months ago, 12 months ago, and then they're onto something else. So when by the time that sells out, they can't go back and make more. Now I know they are investing in more production, and this will obviously help things. But to bring in a brand new game with, let's even say 10 factions at some point, with 10 factions fully supported, like it just feels. It doesn't feel like that's what people are going to get. That's the bit I can't get my head around yet. Like it'll all come out in the wash at some point, but I can't imagine they're going to half-arse it. I can't imagine they're just going to go, oh well, here's some like limited edition models or something like that. It makes me wonder whether it's going to be like, I can't see how it can all be in resin. But by the same stretch, I can't see how they're going to support it from plastics. We'll see. Ed saying all the plastic Lord of the Rings stuff will have gone the way of the dinosaur by that point. There's definitely capacity there. Yeah, you say that there, mate, but I don't think they're. I don't think they're massively like, I don't think they're selling a lot of it anyway for there to be capacity there now, if you like. So it's not like it's going to drop off the edge of a cliff and they've got loads of capacity. I don't think they're selling mountains of it now. Yeah, but didn't have the production line for the COVID wave. Mark saying, I'm interested in Ambush, and the Empire of Dust is the faction for me. The box looks okay. The box for Empire of Dust actually is pretty good from a value point of view. I'm trying to remember now. You get quite a chunk of stuff in the where was it again? Empire of Dust. Let's have a little look on here. So the Empire of Dust one, yeah, £35, £27 if you're buying it with discount online. You get quite a bit inside that box. Now that to me, even, I don't know what it is from a points perspective, but visually having like 4 units on the table. The only thing I think it's kind of missing is like there's no hero models or anything like that. Like there's no like sort of like leaders, if you like, or special hero type models. That's the only thing I think is kind of missing from that box, really. But again, like so I tell you what, let's go to, if we go to factions and we go to Empire of Dust, because the next, like, so if you buy that Ambush starter set, like your next thing to buy really is you're starting to get into some of these things. Maybe some of the hero models, like £10 for a hero model. Maybe you're starting to buy like a catapult or something, maybe 18 quid. So you're then spending like another £28 or something like that. So from your, let's say list prices, from your £35, you're going to roughly spend about another £30 on top. So you're up to like 65. You could in theory get this one for 75, which has then got like quite a chunk. Actually, it hasn't got massively more. Oh, it has. It's got more kind of cavalry in and stuff like that. But yeah, that's my point basically. Is that I think you're going to have to buy something to add to it, and at that point, you're already kind of spending more really. So the fact that it was cheap is maybe less impressive at that point. Mark saying, how many points would be Clash of Kings? I think it's about like 2,200, mate. Let me have a little look. I think there's a link to buy tickets for it, and it's got a pack on it as well. Check out the rules pack here. All right, I'm just clicking on that, mate. I'll get the rules pack up and let's have a little look on there. There we go. So let me get rid of that. So yeah, 2,300 points. It's on here, mate. 6 games of Kings of War over the 2 days at 2,300 points. So it's quite a big chunk from 500 points for Ambush up to 2,300, which is the whole point of why Mantic have done it like that. Really, like that's why they've came up with Ambush, to get people in at the ground level. Let's have a look. Steve, hello Steve, how are you doing? He says, late to the stream. Have you done your 2023 games to look out for roundup, or will I need to scroll back? I have done it, mate. I've been talking about the stuff that I'm going to be kind of playing, really, the stuff that I'm looking for, looking forward to playing next year, really, as opposed to games that are like sort of for folks to watch out for. Because I guess it depends on what you're interested in of the games to watch out for. Because there's not a lot of new stuff, but like in the pipeline at the moment. Like, talking of new stuff, we've got Shatterpoint, which we talked about earlier on, which is coming in like in the summer. It looks like TT Combat are doing like a kind of like a skirmish miniatures game based in the Drop Zone universe, but with like sort of individual models, rather like 28mm models rather than like 6mm stuff. But other than that, I don't think there's been a huge amount announced. Andrew Fairbanks is saying, it's the thing that makes me laugh about purchases of every AOS army. Hard not to just say I bought every collector box set. Yeah. Yeah, other people selling, they like the look of those as well. Yeah, I do like the Empire of Dust, mate. I must admit, the Empire of Dust, the new models as well. The old ones used to be a mixture of like, I think they were like metal and plastics, where the new plastics are really nice actually. Ed saying that TT Combat games got my attention. To be honest, mate, I'm not sure if it's got mine at the moment. I'll be interested to see what happens with it, but the resin minis for me for Carnivore is what's put me off. My experience with them hasn't been great, so that's what's kind of like that's put me off a little bit for that. At the point where I'm buying resin minis like from a company, I might as well be 3D printing them at that point, I think. But we'll see. If the game's worth it, it might be worth digging in, or if the miniatures look anything special, I might buy the odd bits and pieces. But at the minute, there's nothing really kind of screaming out at me at the moment. So what about you folks? And anyway, what games are you kind of looking forward to playing in 2023? If you're more of a painter, is there any miniature ranges that you're thinking about picking some stuff up for? Or is there anything that you've already got a pile that's ready to go and you're not worried about looking at other stuff? Let me know some of the stuff that you're thinking about. Let's see if I can get some information about that TT Combat one, because like I say, I've kind of seen some of the stuff about it. But not a huge amount. So I'm assuming it should be on their website around the news. Is it in the tabletop community maybe? Posts. Here it is. Yeah, Drop Universe Use. So this was the stuff that came out. So these are some of the models that they've obviously been teasing. And they're basically saying that for a while now, there's been some 32mm Drop Universe characters making their way around the community, and people have noticed. Admirals, commanders, and faction leaders, we welcome all of you to today's article. We're holding a council to discuss some recent miniatures that have made their way around the Drop Universe. These miniatures have caused such a stir that a new Facebook group called Drop Squad Commander was founded. Whilst this was a little premature, it's not entirely inaccurate. But anyway, let's talk work in progress. So every faction now has had a work in progress revealed, so we wanted to share some details before we get into a release window talk. So this is a UCM Marine Force Recon Drop Troop. We've got a PHR Aristeas Hellion model. We've got a Resistance Fighter. And then there's a Shaltari War Chief. A Shaltari Pungari Surf, which is kind of cool, and a Scourge Warrior. And basically it's going to be a game called Strike Team Commander, and it says that they've been talking about it for quite some time, and it says though with 4 core games it was only ever a quick we could do this conversation. Releases are planned for at least the next year. There isn't enough space or time to squeeze another game in then while we already have. So it sounds like it's something that is kind of they're working on it in the background, but it's probably somewhere off looking at this. So the way they're talking, it might not even be next year that we start to see it. We'll start to see some models coming out, drip feeding over time, I think. But it sounds like they've got their focus on Drop Fleet, Drop Zone, Rumble Slam, and Carnivore at the minute, and this is just something that will fit in and as. But the models are nice enough. These models are available to buy now. If you're playing games like like miniature agnostic type stuff, or you want some unusual minis for kind of your Dead Zone games or something like that, these are available now, and they're very nice, and they're nicely priced as well. I mean, that one's like £7 for that one. This one's £8. They're not expensive minis. But yeah, that's what seems to be going on with Drop. What was it called again? I forget the name now. Strike Team Commander. It's been nicknamed so far. Where are we up to here? Ryan Barry says excited to try Moonstone and Cyberpunk Combat Zone. That's something I'm familiar with, mate, the Cyberpunk game. Alan Moore, good evening, mate. How are you doing? He's going to give Moonstone a go in the new year. Yeah, Moonstone's a good game, to be fair. I do like the range. I'm going to try and pick some more of those up, I think, in the new year. I almost bought some recently, and I just thought, oh, with the way the postal service is at the minute and stuff, I don't really want them kind of like bashing around and getting lost in the post. I'll wait till things calm down a bit. Type 40 Tars, he's planning to completely paint the Riot Quest range from Privateer Press and completely finish both Rumble, Slam and Armada. You got your hands full, mate. Andrew's saying, hoping 10th edition 40k is a fast and gun game. I didn't like 9th the very second I opened the book. Don't really like AOS 3 either. My hobby progression has stalled since release. I think the problem, mate, is I don't think you're going to get anything massively different from what they've already got at the moment, because I can't see them resetting the universe the way they did with 8th edition, where they got all the index books out. I can't see them doing that kind of a reset. So I'm assuming it'll have to fall in line with whatever the current codexes are. I think we probably will see 10th edition this summer or next summer, but I think it'll be an evolution as opposed to a revolution, I think. Jez is saying he hoping to play more. Yeah, me as well, mate, to be fair. More Rangers of Shadow Deep, Start Slaying, Oathmark, 7TV, Stargrave, and now Kings of War. I was looking at some 7TV stuff the other day, mate. It's quite interesting, actually, the kind of like the stories like behind 7TV. I've never really paid too much attention to it, but I was watching some stuff on it the other day. I thought it was quite cool. Colin saying, honestly, did not like 8th and 7th was okay. Just realised 40k was a longer game for me. It's one of the things, like when I was talking last week about why I voted Firefight my kind of game of the year. Like I love sci-fi stuff. Sci-fi is generally like my preferred stuff over fantasy, or it has been for years. Like I'm much more into, say, Star Wars than I ever would be, like Lord of the Rings and things. And so I wanted to love 40k as a game. But it's just not really for me. I'm like, there's a number of reasons why 40k is not really for me, and Firefight ticks all those sci-fi boxes that I'd been looking for elsewhere. I know other people are kind of enjoying things like one-page rules and just using their 40k miniatures and stuff. And like I say, I think the miniatures range for 40k is absolutely beautiful. The universe is really rich and deep, and like if you're into the background lore and stuff, there's loads to read up. But the game just doesn't hook me, basically. And I think it's one of those things where people play it because they've just always played it, and people play it because they say, well, I can get an opponent if I play that game. I just like it always reminds me, like when I used to work for a brewery, and the number one selling lager in the UK at the time was Carling, and I'm not a big fan of Carling lager. I don't really like the taste of it. But it was the number one selling lager in the UK. And we, like the brewery I worked for, obviously had other branded lagers. And no matter which lager we put up against it, if you did a blind taste test, any other lager would be preferred to Carling. And it was purely just because that people just get used to stuff. They just like, they see it on a shelf, they see it on a bar somewhere, and they just drink it, and it's almost just like brand recognition, and they get sucked into buying the same thing again and again. And I feel like playing 40k is a bit like that. There are so many people who play it just because that's what they play, basically, and they almost spend as much time not talking about not enjoying it than they do actually enjoying their hobby. So I would never kind of like sort of encourage people to not play something. I would just encourage people to play something they enjoy, I would say. Let's have a little look here as I go down here. Type 40 Tars has seen he's going to jump in Burrows and Badgers. Nice one, mate. Dave Christie, hello. This is digging Moonstone like there's no tomorrow in 23. Looking for the new Goblin faction. Yeah. Canada Guy Talks, hello. This is, I think Malifaux is the only worthwhile mini game at the minute. I tell you what, mate, I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm getting deeper and deeper into it. It's something I'm definitely going to be kind of talking about more over the next sort of weeks and months. as I kind of like sort of delve more into it. And it's, yeah, I love the game. Winston, looking forward to getting the new Blood and Plunder 2-player starter set. Blackbeard versus Maynard. I've not. I didn't know Blood and Plunder were having a new 2-player starter set. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Tony says, from a painting side, aside from Malifaux, the Predator minis, Sarah Connor, he's going to paint some Moonstone stuff, excepting Undead for a Rivenstone to turn up this year. So maybe one of those. I didn't realise you'd backed the Undead stuff made for Rivenstone. I don't remember seeing a lot of the models. Like, I know the Kickstarter was being pushed really hard, which kind of turned me off a little bit, and I didn't really look much into it. I remember them being quite expensive, or maybe I imagined that bit. Alan saying playing Conquest and enjoying that. There's a load of local guys play Conquest and absolutely love it. And I will get a demo of that in the near future. The only thing that turns me off Conquest at the minute is I can't really see a faction that I like the look of. Like, there's no faction that I want to spend a big chunk of money on, and to have to sit and paint at the minute. But I'll keep an eye on it. If the game is really, really good, who knows? But I'll have a demo first and then see where that goes. Let's have a little look. Grant saying for some reason the comments from his VG login aren't coming up. They were working before, mate. I wonder what happened. I haven't seen any of them come up, mate. Yeah. Yeah, Christian saying there's nothing being timed out or anything like that. Weird, mate. At least you're in anyway. No, I've not clicked anything either, mate. I didn't click. I certainly wouldn't put you in timeout or anything like that. But no, I don't know what that was, mate. The last message I got was your donation. So I definitely let's have a little look. No, it's giving me the options to put user in timeout and hide user on this channel. So it hasn't been done, mate. That's for sure. I don't know what that is. Where are we up to here? Let me scroll back down a little bit. There we go. I'm scrolling back just to find out where I was up to here. But yeah, sorry VG. I don't know what's going on there, mate. But welcome back. Let's have a little look. Brian Dellin saying Osprey are doing a horror skirmish game and a weird War 1 battle game, both due out next year. They'll be doing like the kind of like the Blue Books things, a bit like they do with Lion Rampant and stuff. Yeah. Waffles Enjoyer saying Bushido is a great game. I've heard some good things about Bushido, to be fair. Let's have a little look here. Luke's saying, just looking at Moonstone range, wow, that's a huge now. I remember when it was 15 minis. Yeah, I think there's over 100 now, mate, to be fair. And I think they've obviously got more planned. And I think there's quite there's 3 factions technically, purely like from their names, but then there's like sub factions within factions. So like you can have like a pirate crew and like have like pirates. You can have like a goblin crew. There are pirate goblins. So there's like loads of like sub factions within the factions. So don't just look at it and go like, oh well, they've only got 3 factions. That's a bit dull. Because you don't need a lot of models. It's almost like there's little mini like sub factions within a faction. Let's have a little look here. Waffles Enjoy saying Batman's pretty good game, but Night Models has been struggling with it. Yeah, it's funny, they have a push every now and again, and then it seems to go quiet on it. You don't hear a lot of people playing it. It's a shame. I mean, Batman is a huge license. Waffles is saying Star Wars Legion's the finest game I've played in a long time. It's good, mate, but it's never grabbed me enough to be something that I'll play on a regular basis. And I'm not a big enough fan of the minis as well. The minis just feel... I wish the minis were a bit of a bigger scale, if I'm honest. And I do have a lot of the older ones, so maybe it's because I haven't seen the newer stuff. But yeah, I've never been a massive fan of the minis. Drowned Earth is an interesting game. I do have a lot of Drowned Earth stuff actually to kind of do some digging into next year as well. I've actually got on my shelf here, which is the... Let me just grab this box. I have a pile. I have a pile of Drowned Earth stuff that I need to kind of spend some time on as well. starting with that Raptor Claw Island. Oh, there's a microphone there, which is the Kickstarter that they had last year. Yeah, so I need to do some digging with that as well at some point. Plus the boxes of the hero models and stuff that come with it as well, because the game's really interesting in terms of the fact that it comes with like standees, and you can choose to like just play it with standees out of the box, or you can buy the miniatures and kind of do it that way. Bot Wars, it's an interesting idea, but the models don't grab me, if I'm being honest. Rumble Slam's alright, yeah. Grant's saying it's really annoying. I don't know what it is, mate. I don't know why it's doing it. There's definitely nothing else. There's definitely nothing at my end, mate, that should be blocking it. I don't know what it is. Carnivale is an interesting game. I like the game. It's very RPG-esque as opposed to like playing like a miniatures game. I mean, it is a miniatures game, but the rules are very RPG-esque, I should say. But I've had some bad experiences with the quality of the models, if I'm honest, and that's what's put me off that. And it might be I might have been dead unlucky with the models that I've got, but yeah, that's kind of what put me off Carnival. Alan saying, I'll give a Conquest demo. Yeah, that would be good, mate. Actually, I wouldn't mind that. Steve says, didn't realise I'd actually be happy that there isn't much hype for games next year. Amount of backlog I've built up, time to play, would be nice just to start a hobby and play. I'm not really about the hype, mate, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, I try to not hype stuff up. I mean, there are obviously going to be times when I'm excited about stuff, and I will talk about the stuff I'm excited about. But I'm not really one for like hyping up people's products just because they're new or just because something's coming out. Like for me, like it needs to grab me, and it doesn't even need to be new for me to get excited about something. If it's new to me and I've never played it before, but I've just discovered it, or I've had a demo of a game that I've never played before, kind of thing, then that kind of gets me excited for stuff. But I tend not to try and jump on the cult of the new type thing. Like I say, I'm more about like I said actually before, discovering or like going through my backlog of games about what would I say my top 5 games of this last year's been, has made me kind of reevaluate a little bit and decide to like focus on the games that I really enjoy, which is where these things come in, you know. Ryan Barry says, excited about Black Studios' new card-based skirmish game Yafsiga to get released in 2023. Looks very interesting. I've been watching the Blackside Studios YouTube channel quite a bit. I've been really interested in them as a company, and just like watching what they do. Their videos remind me a lot of like the Wormwood videos. If anybody's familiar with the Wormwood, the table company, they used to make they might still do, to be fair, but they had a YouTube channel which was kind of like a behind the scenes type stuff, and the Blackside Studios videos remind me a little bit of them. And I've been interested in watching them. They're not easy to get a hold of in the UK, but like I said before, I'm like 90% certain I'm going to be going out to Adepticon in March over to Chicago. And there's some companies that I would really like to kind of get to speak to face to face, that I've maybe chatted to either by email or maybe even by video. But it's going to be nice to kind of see them face to face. And Blackside Studios would be one of those. I would love to see their stuff like in the flesh, if you like, because I've only ever seen it really on videos or in photographs. Tissy Braindrin says, in terms of purchasing, I'm hoping to finish his Imperial Army for Star Wars Legion and greatly expanding his Wadron Army for Conquest. Yeah, they do have some strange names, those Conquest armies. Waffles Enjoyer says, I want a minis game that explicitly tropes fighting each other. Ninja faction, zombie faction, robot faction, pirate faction. I don't think there was anything necessarily. I mean, I think there's some games where you can focus on that kind of stuff, but I don't think there's any technically designed that way. Kyle Rowan, good evening, Kyle. How are you doing? He said, what board games are you planning on playing in 2023? Board game wise, I've been a bit lacking, I would say, over the last 6 months. My board gaming sort of stuff kind of took a bit of a back seat. And my wife's got very sort of specialised tastes when it comes to board games, and that's why my board gaming took a bit of a backseat. Really, the people I was playing board games with, I don't really kind of see so often now. And so me and my wife we've been playing a lot of exit games because my wife's a big fan of those. we've gone back and we started Pandemic Legacy Season 2, and we went back and started to finish that off. So we're playing that. We've obviously been playing a lot of Vagrant Song as well. Thank you very much, Kyle. Which I really enjoyed and continue to enjoy. But I wouldn't say I've really kind of kept up with the Cult of the New in terms of what new stuff is on the horizon. The last time I really had a proper like sort of gaming session was I went to UK Games Expo in the summer with Luke, who he's still in the chat, and we played things like we played QE, we played Don't Mess with Cthulhu, we played Pan Am. There was something else we played as well. I forget what it was now, but that was the last time I had a proper like gaming session. But I did notice there is a pub near me which has a board gaming night every Monday, which clashes obviously with Monday night live streams. But I think they also have the odd like sort of meet up on other nights as well. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that as well. What about you, Kyle? What games are you? What have you got your eye on at the moment? Tony's saying, yeah, you backed the Undead faction early on as I like the aesthetic. Then they started going mad with their marketing. I don't really remember what the Undead looks like, if I'm honest, mate. I'd have to double check that. Ryan saying +1 for Drowned Earth, very much enjoy it. Ed saying, do love some Legion, looking into Syndicate next year. Holy Ghost Games says, Hametsu from Blackside Studio looks interesting. Yeah, it does look interesting. Kyle saying, Adepticon, that's exciting to see you there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I had my flights booked and I had my hotel booked to go in 2020. That was the year I'd kind of I went full time with this with doing the YouTube channel full time. I had my tickets booked, my flight booked, everything ready to go, and then obviously the whole world shut down. There was a very slight moment in March where I was thinking it might happen, it might not happen, and then it was cancelled, and then I had a hassle getting my flight money back. But I took that money away. I basically kind of like obviously got my money back for the hotel, got my money back for the flights, took it away in a bank account, and said I would kind of go back. And I obviously like last year I wanted to kind of let it get back into full swing again before I kind of spent all that money to travel over to the States. And I feel like now's the right time again. There's some stuff I want to see. I feel like it's kind of I'm ready to kind of to get out to Adepticon. So yeah, that's my plan. I've got my hotel booked at the minute. I'm just keeping an eye on flights and trying to get a good price for flights. But yeah, I will definitely see you there. I'd love to buy you a coffee, mate, if you're a coffee drinker. Verathorn says, I think Conquest is doing a vote for what the next faction after the Greek faction will be. Yeah, I think it's just something I'll keep an eye on, mate, to be fair with that stuff. Yeah, Luke says that was the last time. You need some cardboard in your life, fella. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've played board games at home and stuff like with my wife and like the family and that, like, and I've played the odd like sort of party game type stuff, but like serious kind of like board game, and yeah, I've done nothing since the summer, mate, really. Robbie Lowry says, I'm hoping to play a Marvel in person this year. I finished painting up the core box and I'm painting up Warhammer Quest Silver Tower since that's been on my shelf since it came out. I've played a lot of Silver Tower, but I must admit I never ever painted it. I never got round to painting them up. I just played it with the models. Tony says, my son just noticed your jumper and is well gel. Yeah, listen, this is my my Avengers Christmas jumper. I briefly showed it off at the start of the stream. Look there. It's the only Christmas jumper I've ever owned. I'm not really a Christmas jumper person, but when I saw these, I thought, well, I'm a bit of a nerd, and I can get away with wearing a Christmas jumper at this way. Type 42 says, we're talking board games, hoping for lots of Hero Quest and Cthulhu Wars. Nice, mate. Waffles and Joy says, have you got your hands on the Too Thin Coat paints? I hear they're decent. I do have my hands on them, mate. I got a set sent out to me. And they've also sent me a couple of miniatures and stuff, so I'll be doing a video on those at some point in the near future. I've not actually tried them out yet. My intention was to kind of try them as part of the video and get a first impressions and see what I think of them. But I also got sent a full set of the TT combat paint range as well, so I'll be able to kind of compare them as well and see how they stack up against each other. David Christie says, wondering if Temple of the West will release their rule set of Rackham's Confrontation. Is that have they just picked that up? Is that something new, or have they had it for a while? Let's have a little look down here. And obviously in so many paint lines, it's a golden era for hobby, I guess. It's a golden era for hobby, definitely. I think now is a good time for hobby. But golden era for paint lines is a funny one. Like, I do wonder, like, if I was going to start my own business now, would selling paint be the thing that I would go into? Like, it's a crowded market. I wouldn't say it was saturated. It's not that there isn't room for new paint companies, but they have to kind of offer something different. That's what I would suggest. And they either need to be bigger bottles for the same price. They need to be the same bottles for less. They need to cover better. They need to be widely available. They need to be in, like, sort of, they need to do something that you don't already get. Like, they've already got there's already lots and lots of brands of paint, and it's not like people are struggling to paint miniatures right now. So it's not like these new paints are revolutionary. Hence where I find it a bit like it's a strange choice. Like the TT Combat ones is a strange choice to bring a Kickstarter for a paint range. Like the Too Thin Coats ones is essentially, the company is it Transatlantic Games, I think it is, who make the paints, and it's essentially got Duncan's name on the paints, and I'm assuming he's been involved in some of the testing and stuff in the early stages, but they're manufactured by another company. It's not Duncan that's selling the paints as such. But they're just another paint range. Like that's the bit I'm not, unless they're really kind of unless they're really accessible and they're really well priced, they don't really kind of add anything to what's already out there. Crispin Vasquez says, not the paint, it's the name behind it. Duncan Rhodes paints, I'm sure, are being bought because of who he is. Absolutely agree, mate. That's exactly why they're being bought. The thing is, I think they're all being made like essentially in the same factory now, with like, which is the curious thing. David says they want to release their own version of the rules to be played with the new minis they have and will do. They don't have the IP though. I'm not sure who does actually. Oh, that's interesting, mate. Like it tends to happen with these older stuff. Is the IP hangs around and disappears somewhere. Jess says a good white and a matte varnish that doesn't mist. That's the dream. Yeah, you're right, mate. I matte varnish I use is the Colourforge one, and it has misted on me before, to be fair. But I've kind of learned that as long as I warm the can up in hot water beforehand, and just kind of make sure it's kind of well shook up, I've not had any more mist. And I think what I must have done was I must have just got a bit close or something like that. It happened to me once. RG says, looking to play more Dead Zone and Carnival. Can't wait for the Oros to drop Kickstarter alongside Burn Cycle. Also have Final Girl Season 2 and Colossus both coming soon. Final Girl Season 2 looks good, mate. Like I almost backed that Kickstarter myself, actually. I'm a bit funny when it comes to Kickstarters, but Final Girl was something I was tempted by. But then, as with anything, you start looking at it and you go, oh, well, I could buy all the Season 1 as well as part of the Kickstarter. And obviously I have to get the expansion stuff, and I have to get all the bits. And before I knew it, it was just too expensive. And I should have just bought Final Girl Season 1 pack or something like that. Smudge is saying Duncan paints are by Transatlantic Games. Yes, they are, mate. RG says, found Vince Ventura's painting channel and he has upped my painting game and got my mojo going. That's good, mate. Whatever gets you sort of cooking on gas is the way to do it. Kyle says, looking forward to so many games, but have to get through the old backlog first. There is that, mate. He says, That Time You Killed Me is up next, I think. Oh, nice. I've heard of it, mate, but I don't know a lot about it. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, all games are new if you've not played them before. It doesn't need to be a kind of like the new stuff, but we all do get caught up in the cult of the new a little bit. But yeah, like I say, every game's new if you've not played it. Paul says, if you varnish mist, there's a solution. Get a bit of cooking oil and paint a thin layer over top. Misting will disappear and won't come back. I tried that, mate, actually. I tried it and it didn't work. I tried varnishing it again, because I heard if you varnish it again, it takes away the misting. There was like, I tried all of the different things online about it, and actually, because it was only one miniature, I managed to kind of mask the worst of it by repainting over the bits that were really bad. Colin says olive oil will fix the mist and brush on. I used the one Cal spray. Exactly what I used, mate. That is exactly what I used, and it didn't work. RG says Final Girl gets expensive, but you don't need it all. Yeah, that's always the kind of the thing, though, isn't it? When it comes, that's why Kickstarters. I'm always a bit funny about Kickstarters, because like you do get pulled into that like gotta catch them all Pokemon mentality of like, well, if I'm spending all this money on shipping and I'm gonna wait like 18 months for it, then I might as well make sure I get it all in one go in case I can't get it later when I want it, kind of thing. Nunja is saying he want to try Spirit Island with his girlfriend. Really fun game. Spirit Island. I'm trying to think if I know that one. I don't think I do actually know. Grant saying it seems to be the problem with YouTube, as these VGA comments don't get through on Edge. Weird as Super Chat does. That is strange, that mate. Really, really weird. RG saying also interested in trying Vallejo's Express paints, but also have contrast, so I need to use them first. Yeah, that was kind of where I was with the Army Painter Speed paints. I've got the contrast range. I like using them. I didn't feel the need to spend more money on something that was kind of similar. Colin says takes a few hours. Yeah, I left it for a day, mate. Paul says misting is moisture trapped under the surface of the varnish. It's not the varnish itself. Oil should reactivate the varnish and allows the moisture to escape. Whatever it was, mate, it didn't work for me. I ended up having to repaint bits of it, but ever since I've kind of warmed the cans up, I've never had any issues. Crispin says Kickstart 3D printable STLs, no shipping. Yeah, that is the only thing that I have backed on Kickstarter in probably the last 2 years, I would say. I'm trying to think what the last thing I actually backed on Kickstarter was in terms of like a miniatures game or something. I think it was Hellboy. Hellboy might have been the last actual physical product that I backed on Kickstarter. But these buildings that I showed off earlier on, let me hold it up again. This 3D printed building that I'd made. This was a Kickstarter STL that I backed. Let's have a little look. I guess I'll just hang out on this account and hopefully it'll write itself before next week. Yeah, I don't know what it is, mate. Like I say, there's not, because they were showing up before. They were certainly showing up because you were chatting about moving house and stuff like that, and then they must have just seemed to just disappear. Because you were telling me, yeah, I've just scrolled back. You were telling me about the Tamiya airbrush cleaner and stuff. Weird, mate. I don't know what. Don't know why it's done that. RG saying Spirit Island is good, but I enjoyed it more using the app. So my copy stays in the box. The app is quicker with no setup and tear down. It's funny, me and my wife play. Is it called Is it Forbidden Island? I think it is, isn't it? We play Forbidden Island on an iPad app for that exact reason as well. It's something that it's on like my little boy's iPad. So if we ever go away on holiday anywhere, he obviously takes his iPad with him. And then when he goes to sleep, and we're just kind of like sitting on a balcony or something like that, we quite often sit and play Forbidden Island. Rob Fannelson, hello mate, how you doing? He says, don't know if this was discussed as I am late, Andy, but what do you think of the Elden Ring board game? We haven't discussed it, mate, actually. So I ended up not doing a video about it because essentially by the time they sent me the footage that they said they were going to send me, which I could then use to make a video, everybody else had already kind of made the videos by that point, so there wasn't really a great deal to add. I really enjoyed the game itself. I thought it was fun. I thought it was quite innovative. I liked the way the battles worked out on the grid of like inside the book, and I liked the way the card mechanics worked so there's no dice to combat. I liked the way you explore stuff. Overall, it is a game I would definitely play. The problem I have with it was the price. I couldn't justify myself spending that kind of money on that game for something I wouldn't see for like 2 years or something like that. It's the kind of game, if somebody else had bought it, like if they were a massive fan of Elden Ring and they'd bought it and they wanted to play it, I would absolutely play it with them. I would have no issues playing the game. But I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be spending my own money on it. I've never played Elden Ring, the video game. I'm not a massive Elden Ring fan where there is value in kind of having the miniatures for this video game that I absolutely love. So for me, great game, but very, very expensive. That was, I would say that's how I would kind of round it out. Grant says, VJ, I can't call you Grant now, can I, VJ? He said, I tried to play Spirit Island once, can't say I'd play it again. It was really hard to learn, and even after the first game, I don't really feel like I understood it. Yeah, I don't really know it much. And Ed saying, yeah, he felt the same, but he gave it another go and it clicked. He said he's rebuilding his board game Kallax as priority number one. Luke says, I think the funding level of Elden Ring speaks volumes. The Venn diagram of video game to board game and only stretches so far, and a massive license does not mean instant success. It's funny because I sat at the press event, and the presentation was really, really interesting. It was really good. It was good to understand like some of the thought processes in what went into like creating the game. It was really good to actually speak to the creators, to speak to the owners of the company, ask them questions. I saw the miniatures before the kind of presentations. The miniatures are beautiful. They're really nice. I mean, I'm assuming what I saw were 3D printed kind of prototypes and not the finished plastics, but they looked fantastic. I think Steamforged make a quality product. They generally make a good product. There's a lot of polish to the game. It looks really well made. It looks well designed. I like the way you could kind of jump in and jump out. And I actually played my demo solo. I was the only person I think who got the demo of the game solo. So that was interesting to see how that worked out. So I was quite impressed with the game itself. But then when they showed the slides and showed the prices, I kind of like sort of half chuckled to myself, and it was just like I get it's like let's whatever it was, £300-400 or something for the all-in pledge. But I know I kind of knew by the end of the Kickstarter it wouldn't be that. It would be £500-600 the same way they always go. And for me, that's just like, that is a lot of money. Like I generally try not to think about value when I'm kind of reviewing games and stuff, because at the end of the day, value is very much like, it's a personal thing. Like I might not have 2 pennies to rub together. You might be a millionaire. Value is very different to us. But at the end of the game, is the game good? So I generally try to leave kind of price out of things. But I couldn't like sort of with any real conscience like sort of say to people like a month before Christmas, at a point when everyone's bills are going up through the roof, everybody's spending more money, I couldn't willfully say I would absolutely recommend spending £500 or £400 on this board game that you won't see for 2 years. Like it just felt wrong to me when I saw that kind of pricing, and I just thought, you know what it is, if people are interested in the game, there's enough information out there from other creators. They've all given their viewpoints, and they've all kind of said what they think. My opinion is clouded and is now biased because I don't think it's value for money, and that's not necessarily right. So I just ended up not doing the content for it. That was why. That and the fact that they were trying to send me over Blackmagic camera video files that were about 64 gigs, trying to get them through Dropbox, and then Premiere Pro wouldn't open them. So yeah, that was why. Gunsing, anyone else going to back SAS Rogue Regiment on Kickstarter? People saying it's similar to V Commandos, but can't get that in Australia, so pretty clean. So is the SAS Rogue Regiment, is it basically like piggybacking on the TV show? Is that what it is? David saying, think I'll give Turnip 28 a try. I've heard a lot about Turnip 28, and Jez is saying he loves the Turnip 28 aesthetic. It's a bit quirky for me. I don't think it's my kind of thing. Paolo is saying Spirit Island is a rock of Sisyphus. Every turn you break your head to stop the settlers, and the next turn they come back and more numerous than ever. I don't think I know the game, to be fair. Spudge is going to check out. Also interested in 0200 hours. Luke says I could make a very long list of things that were done very poorly for Elden Ring campaign. Massive mistakes were made. I think it was. I generally don't review things that are like £400 and £500, and for me that is like, that buys a lot of board games. It buys a lot of miniatures. It buys a lot of hobby fun, if you like. And I just found it hard to. I just found it hard to be able to like sort of to give an honest opinion without that being clouded, and I didn't think I was doing anybody a favor really by making a video that just said it was expensive. It sounded a bit like whinging, and that was why I didn't do it. Grant saying, have to admit, the Monpok Kickstarter has been delayed again by Mythic. Again, I've dropped a lot of dough on that. If it goes belly up, I'm heading to Mythic on my next trip to sort them out. Yeah. Mythic, not necessarily well known, mate, for hitting Kickstarters on time. Is he not sure about the SES Rogue Regiment piggybacking on any TV show? I've not seen that over here. It's funny because it was a BBC show in the UK. I've just watched it recently. I've just watched it on that, and I've just seen the TV show is now going on Amazon this week. So it's going to streaming platforms. So I assume it must be going to kind of go elsewhere around the world. But I think it was called SES Rogue Heroes, and it is based on a book by the same name, I think. And I quite enjoyed the show. I wouldn't say it was necessarily historically accurate, but it was a good kind of it was a good action show type thing. And it seems to have kind of created a little bit of a buzz. So I wonder whether that's why it's maybe getting a bit of a re-theming. Lucian, you made the right move, and more power to you for sticking to morals with your content. I just think it's. I'm not saying that anybody else was kind of didn't have any morals when they reviewed it, and maybe other people are much more accepting of spending big chunks of money on board games. I think for me it's like I've got experience of backing Kickstarters myself and going in big, and then never ever getting to sort of play any of the expansions, because generally what happens is you play the first kind of intro mission. And learn the rules, and then next time you play it, you're playing it with somebody new, so you use the intro mission to kind of teach them the rules and get them into it, and you might play maybe one or more scenarios or something like that. And then the next time you play it, it's with somebody different, and so you're starting again from scratch. And so I end up getting to a point where actually the extra expansions, the extra bits I've paid for never get used, because I'm generally playing the first sort of few missions and the first few scenarios again and again. And then I've been fortunate that I've had companies who've sent me an all-in pledge for something, and 2 huge cardboard boxes will turn up, and when I look inside, it's just like bearing in mind that I didn't pay any money for them, I look inside and there's just like a fear of dread that just washes over me where I look, and I just think there's not a chance I'm ever going to do anything with all of this kind of stuff. Like it's not, like it's unwieldy kind of thing. And I think the thing with board games almost is that board games are not a lifestyle product the way that something like Warhammer 40,000 is a lifestyle product. People play Warhammer 40,000 and only play Warhammer 40,000. They only collect Warhammer minis. I don't think that's the case when it comes to board games. Like, I can't imagine anybody saying, well, I'm gonna sink all my money into Elden Ring, and I'm only gonna play Elden Ring from now on. And the way they're doing it is there's more releases coming out for it, like over a period of time, over a number of years. So basically all I'll ever do is just play Elden Ring. I don't see people doing that from a board game perspective. So instead of dropping £600 on this massive game that you probably never get to play the expansions for, I kind of think that there's better places. Like there's some amazing board games at like £30-40 that would bring you a lot more kind of fun and a lot more joy, if you like. I just think it's VJ saying specific board games aren't really lifestyle, but board gaming in general 1000% is. Yeah, I agree with that, mate. But that's my point, is that people like to play lots of different board games. People have board game collections, like they have like shelves and shelves full of alternative board games, as opposed to dropping like £600-700 just on one and thinking, well, I'm only going to play that. Let me scroll back a little bit here. What are we up to here? Moxie, looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy next year. Is that the video game, mate? Is that what we're talking about? Or is it a board game coming as well? Type 40 Target in Mythic is why I only got the vet pledge to that Kickstarter. Yeah, I'm not overly made up with Mythic either. Nonji says I backed Elden Ring at $1 so I can get access to the pledge manager if I change my mind later. But yeah, I'm done with these large Kickstarter campaigns. Still haven't received my copy of Frosthaven. Have you not, mate? That's interesting. Highland Pharaon says best live stream I've watched in an age. So many good game ideas. I want them all. Help. Thank you very much for the kind words, mate. RG says I pulled my Rogue Heroes pledge. Didn't like the way the campaign went. Got too expensive for all in. A simple game that's not worth £100 plus. Yeah, and that's kind of what happens with Kickstarter now. Is you've obviously got VAT to if you're in the UK anyway, there's VAT to think about now. Shipping costs are so variable at the moment. It's a nightmare for games companies at the best of time to be able to kind of work out what their shipping costs are. Never mind what their shipping costs are going to be in 2 years' time when the Kickstarter finally ships. Luke says Mythic selling off lots of licenses and let all their stuff not needed for fulfillment go, really tightening the purse strings to make up for poor choices in the past. Yeah, I had heard that, mate. It's not a good place, is it, to be fair? Grant says I'm interested in the game as it's tile counter-based stealth missions. So did you say you can't pick up commandos in Australia? I didn't realise that, mate. Aaron Blacks, hello, mate. He says Miniature Market's having a huge sale on Dark Souls, the board game stuff right now. I wonder they've relaunched Dark Souls, the board game, haven't they? So basically you can buy it now, which I think has it's either got simplified mechanics or it's got improved rules or something like that. So I think it's that they're having a bit of a second push with it at the moment. None just saying if you like a stealth game, check out Bungle Brothers fun heist game. I've not heard of that before, mate. VG saying yeah, I know what's happening at Mythic. Well aware going in that they were often delayed. I don't mind a delay even a couple of years. But if they go tits up, I'll get nothing. Yeah, well, I think the other side of it is you've got some comeback in the fact that they are working with privateer press on this. It's not in isolation, for example. Grey Storm says, oh yes, that's a Kickstarter condition. Invisible says, evening all, hope you're having a good night. He's painting an orc. Was meant to be doing scenery, but my glue was in the shed and froze. You don't want that to freeze, do you, mate? Smudge says, well worth a watch. It was based on a documentary series of the same name and made by the makers of Peaky Blinders. Yes, it was, mate. It was a good show, actually. I really enjoyed it. And like I say, I just saw today it's coming to Amazon as well. So if you're not in the UK, maybe you'll be able to pick it up on Amazon. Let's have a little look. Jill Monroe, hello Jill, how are you doing? Says, oi, a long time no see. Work schedule means I don't catch this streams these days, but wanted to jump in and wish you and yours a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you as well, Jill. I hope you're well. Type 40 Tarts in Mythic Monpoc. I'm going to release Sarcastic Prior Press release mini versions of the alpha monsters before Mythic gets its act together. I'd be surprised. Samia, hello mate, how you doing? He says, killer Christmas sweater, dude. Thank you very much. She says, thank you for a year of amazing and wonderful hobby content, and especially the monthly hobby challenges. Hope to participate in them in 2023. Happy holidays to you as well, my friend. Luke says, being a board game collector is also like having a 3,000 point army for all 40k factions. Yeah, there is that, mate, yeah. Moxie, yeah, the video game. Yeah, I remember hearing about the Hogwarts Legacy video game. I just wasn't sure if there was a board game or something coming as well. Smudge says, have you checked out O200 Hours, which is SAS commando raids on German installations? I haven't, but I have heard of it. I've not had an opportunity to play it yet. None just says, Frosthaven is shipping now, I believe, but my buddy and I haven't gotten ours yet. I saw a video come up in my recommended tabs the other day, and it was somebody saying that they'd played 38 missions, or they'd put 38 hours or something into Frosthaven. So I assumed it was out and that people were playing it, but I hadn't realised that people were still waiting on it and stuff. Mini Warmud, Merry Christmas to you as well, buddy. Said he'd be playing the Zombicide Christmas missions. Fun. This is a great show as always. Thank you very much. Grey Storm says that thing with always playing the intro scenario over and over resonates so much. Yeah, me as well, mate. Luke says, I'm watching Yellowstone at the moment, like modern Wild West meets Sopranos. I might have to check that out, mate. Me and my wife are watching the second season of Only Murders in the Building, which is quite fun. I quite like that. I finished watching Wednesday a while ago, the Addams Family Wednesday, that is, and I enjoyed that. That was good. I'm currently absolutely addicted to The Traitor on BBC, if anybody's in the UK watching it. I don't really watch like kind of sort of terrestrial TV generally. I definitely don't really watch kind of like what they called like reality TV type shows like Love Island or I'm a Celebrity or any of that kind of stuff. But I am absolutely addicted to The Traitor. It is one of the best TV shows I have watched in ages, and I'm loving it. Rob says, I can respect your point of view. I love the Soulborn games and own all the board games. I went all in on the Elden Kickstarter, and that's because it's a solo game that I'll play. I don't play too many war games anymore. To be honest, mate, if there's value in it for you, I think you'll enjoy it. I think it'll be good. Like I say, I'm not a huge kind of video game player anyway. I've never played Elden Ring, so a lot of it was kind of lost on me in regards to like how close it was to the theme and stuff. But I actually think that gave me a unique perspective, that I wasn't clouded by that. I was playing the game as somebody just playing a board game, and I enjoyed it. Like I say, I would absolutely play it 100%. If somebody had bought it and they wanted to play it, I'd 100% play it with them. And I played it solo, and I thought it worked really well solo, mate. The only thing that like I just saw that price, and I saw like the 6,500 cards and all this kind of stuff, and it was just like, I'll never get through that. Like that was where my head popped. Night Tom, Night Ed, I should say. Take care, mate. Merry Christmas to you as well. Tasty Braindrin says, that is something that I'm curious about. Will the painting challenges continue in 23? They absolutely will, mate. They absolutely will. We used to have them we had them prior to 2022 as well. We just never really got into a schedule of having them every month. Where this year we've had one every single month through the year. So yeah, we will absolutely continue to do them next year as well, mate. Samir says, Battletech Alpha Strike and the Mercenaries Kickstarter coming in March might win you over, Andy. To be honest, mate, you said two things in that sentence that definitely will not win me over. The first one was Kickstarter. That doesn't really interest me. The other thing was Battletech. That doesn't really interest me either, if I'm honest. I'm not really into those kind of big mechs and stuff like that. It's not really my kind of thing. Waffles are saying the English is a decent show. I don't think I've seen that advertised yet. Smudge is saying, me and my daughter were into The Traitor and loved Wednesday as well. Yeah, honestly, mate, The Traitor is one of those shows that, like, so what happens is, like, at the end of the work day, like, my wife finishes work for the day. She generally kind of looks after the little one for a bit while I go back and do some work, because I've been looking after him when he finished school. So I'll go back and finish off doing some work, and then we'll sit down and have some dinner together. But the little one's still up and about and he's playing. So if we're going to watch some TV or something while we're having like dinner, we just want to put some kind of like some kind of easy watching TV on in the background. Not something that's inappropriate for him, and not something that we really need to be paying a lot of attention to. And so the other week, might have been last week actually, I literally just put it on. I was flicking through the channels, saw it was advertised, and just kind of put the first episode on iPlayer just to see what it was like. Within like sort of half the first episode, I was absolutely sucked in. My wife kind of wasn't really paying that much attention. I ended up like binge watching it. I think she wasn't very well. She's got a really kind of chesty cough at the moment. So she said, look, I'm going to sleep in the spare room, so I'm going to be coughing all night. I'm going to sleep in the spare room. You kind of sort of try and get a good night's sleep kind of thing. And I ended up sitting up until about 2 o'clock in the morning binge watching The Traitor on iPlayer. So I didn't do myself any favours really. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, mate. Absolutely loving it. Let's have a little look here. Jez is saying, I really enjoyed Andor and I'm totally enjoying Willow, but I'm obviously biased on that. Forgot how much I made for it. I've not seen Willow yet, mate. Andor, I kind of got, I'll be honest, I got a little bit bored with it. And I think from what I understand, the bits that come after where I'm up to, it gets like better from where I'm up to. So I need to go back and watch that at some point. I might kind of try and watch it over the Christmas period. But I do obviously love Star Wars, and I loved Rogue One, and I like these Star Wars stories that are not just all like sort of Jedis and Stormtrooper type of things. I do like the fact that there's a whole world of Star Wars out there. So I will kind of go back, but maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to be watching that. I should maybe go back and redo it. But yeah, Willow, I've not seen it. Mark saying, yeah, enjoying Traitors 2 werewolf game vibes. Absolutely that, mate, isn't it? It's essentially like a live action kind of one night werewolf type thing. Yeah, Samir says Andor was very slow building, but so worth sticking through it. I think that's exactly what happened to me. It was slow, and I think I'm only about 4 episodes in, so I've not seen like the big heist and stuff like that. Everybody keeps telling me how good the heist was. I've not seen that, and I haven't obviously seen the end of it, so I need to kind of go back. And I'm part of me wants to go back and start it from scratch again, because I think I was just in a bit of a grumpy mood when I was watching it before, which probably didn't help, but I also remember that it was quite slow, and I'm not sure I want to go back and watch it all again. Yeah, Samir saying stick with it, you'll love it. Well, folks, I think we're going to start to kind of wrap it up now. It's just past 11 o'clock now. I'm gonna get up early tomorrow and go and get some last minute Christmas shopping in for my wife, because I've been a terrible husband and I haven't got everything bought. I ended up getting to a point where I just kept saying to myself, I'll just nip into town and buy the last few bits, because we've had like postal strikes in the UK, so the Royal Mail's been on strike, and I was worried that if I ordered stuff online I wouldn't get it. Waffle says, did you do the segment already? Yeah, I've been streaming for over 2 hours, mate. I did it earlier on. So yeah, I have to nip into town and get some last minute bits and pieces tomorrow. So I've got to be up early to do that, otherwise I'll just be sitting in traffic all day. So I'm going to wrap it up now, folks. Have an absolutely fantastic happy holidays to everybody. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you and your family. I will speak to you all on Boxing Day, so on December 26th. We will be having a live stream. I'm not sure how popular it's going to be. I don't know how many folks we're going to have in. It might be really quiet. It might be really popular if folks are like, I want to get away from the family for a couple of hours. We'll see how it is, but we're definitely having it anyway. So I will see you all on Boxing Day. Have a lovely holiday. Have a fantastic Christmas. I hope Santa Claus brings you all of the hobby things that you asked for. And I wish you all and your families a happy holiday. So take care, folks. See you next week.